The United States played a direct role helping establish a Hamas office in Qatar during the Obama administration. He sought appeasement and soft diplomacy, but ultimately failed to contain the terrorist group festering Gaza. For many years, both the United States and Israel have lived in a policy fantasy world where we tolerate Hamas' presence in Doha and believe that Doha will be a moderating influence, said Richard Goldberg, the Trump administration's maximum coordinator. This thesis was debunked on October 7. So whatever has happened in last few years doesn't matter because October 7 now stands as the new reality, said Goldberg, who is also a senior advisor at Foundation for Defense of Democracies. This refutes hypotheses that Hamas will somehow become a ruling entity rather than a terrorist group. Meshal bin Hamad Al Thani, Qatar's ambassador to Washington, wrote a Wall Street Journal column that his government established a Hamas political bureau in Doha, 2012 at the request of Washington to establish indirect lines of communication. He frequently served in mediation efforts and helped reduce conflicts between Israel and the Palestinian territories. The existence of Hamas office should not be confused with approval. On the contrary, it constitutes an important channel for indirect communication, Minister wrote. United Nations chief made the Gaza death comparison checked on social media. He lost the moral stand. While Hamas and Secretary Blinken expressed their appreciation for their assistance in this effort, he emphasized that Blinken has repeatedly condemned Hamas' unconscionable acts of brutality and made clear that it is no longer business as usual with Hamas. Qatar's Hamas liaison office played a role in the release of 150 Palestinian detainees and 50 hostages in exchange for a 4-day ceasefire. Qatar first announced the deal after both parties finalized it last week. He said that he only supports establishing the office in Doha. Of course, this issue was also discussed with the United States and we said go ahead. Goldberg argued that Doha office was clearly a policy consistent with Obama administration's thinking about how to reshape Middle East in of Muslim Brotherhood, and Qataris are moving in that direction. ANISRAELGAZA agreement may be made for the release of women and child hostages. He explained that the Qataris saw this as taking on their longtime supporters, Hamas, and helping to soften them up and separate them from the Iranians, selling it as a win-win for everyone. Well, 11 years later, we are paying a very, very high price, the fatal mistake of allowing Doha to sell us on this route. And if we don't eventually reverse this policy and cut off Qatar's support for Hamas, Goldberg said, we're going to be paying a very high price ourselves. We guarantee that more October 7 attacks will come in the future, he said. Simon, who currently teaches Middle Eastern Studies at University of Washington,